8 sleeping habits that you must change to rewire your brain for massive success. Hi, my name is Dr. Meghana Dikshit. I'm the author of the book You Matter and Brain and Performance Expert. Why sleeping habits are connected to your success? Why is it important that you change your sleeping patterns? Well, to understand this, let me take you down to understand your brain a little bit. We all are facing some of the challenges of lifestyle, stress, work, traffic, too much of, things going on around in our surroundings, and we are all coping up with that environment. Now, while that happens, what happens in your brain is, your brain looks at 3 kinds of stress. The first stress that your brain focusing on is a physical stress. Like say, suppose you got physically injured or you fell down or there is too much of going on in your physical body, health issues. The second kind of a stress your brain looks at is a chemical stress or environmental stress like water pollution, air pollution, sound pollution, chemicals and viruses and bacteria and all of that. And the third kind of stress that your brain focuses on is an emotional stress. Well, this stress is not discussed in our education system or our society. Our cultures have been for centuries now suppressing our emotions and how you feel on day-to-day basis. Now what happens is, any of these 3 stress comes in your life, your brain goes into the fight and flight mode. And the moment it goes into the fight and flight mode, it releases adrenaline and cortisol, stress hormones in your body. Now if adrenaline and cortisol are released in your body in small portion and for the short period of time, they are great to help you overcome the challenges that you may be going through. Like say you have some infection in the body, or you had some health issues, or maybe something that you are exposed to that's not going well with you. You deal with these challenges. Sometimes these challenges could be even taking care of your day-to-day work challenges or at home relationship challenges. Now the moment you get over these challenges, whether they are physical or they're emotional challenges, adrenaline and cortisol from the body starts going down. But think about it. Like if in your past sometime you went through a trauma or you went through an event that has caused you some trauma, now your brain remembers everything that has happened to you, and especially the negative events that have happened in your life, because your brain's primary function is to keep you safe and protected. Now that negative event is like a virus file in your computer, your brain chip, constantly reminding you of that you're not safe, you're not comfortable. There's something going on in your space that's not yet dealt with. Now, all the time, if that goes on at the back burner, I'm not saying that you're consciously aware of something like this that happened 15, 20 years back maybe, but unconsciously that event is still playing on you. And while that event continues to play, adrenaline and cortisol keeps releasing in your body. And eventually your body gets addicted to these stress hormones. And then what happens is, because of this addiction, 2 things happen. One, you keep attracting similar kind of patterns, similar kind of events in your life again and again on autopilot, out of no conscious fault of yours, because you want the adrenaline and cortisol release constant in your body. You're now addicted to the stress. The second thing happened is, whenever that event happened in your life in the past, now you created a bubble around that event because it's like an untouchable thing. You don't want to address it because that is something which is very scary. And you created a bubble around that event. And with that bubble, what happened is, you simply created a cope-up mechanism, a cope-up style. Now, instead of going out and exploring yourself, you started shrinking your size. You started shrinking yourself and you developed a completely different system within yourself to create, results outside. Now, based on this limitation that you got 15, 20 years back, maybe you're operating in your life till now. Now, your question is, okay, Dr. Meghana, I got it. So, what has got to do with sleep and what's happening to me? So, if you're ready to listen to why your sleep is related to success or your rewiring of your brain, type ready in the chat box so that I can share it with you why your success is directly related to your sleep. Type ready. Alright, so let's go dive deeper into it, understanding one of the most important factors that you have to factor in while it comes to your healing or your brain rewiring, that sleep is an integral part of your brain. In terms of sleep and wake up cycle, Now, each of us have sleep and wake up cycle. What happens is when you're awake, you're dealing with your day-to-day challenges. You're practically going out there and you're dealing and you're overcoming the challenge and stuff like that. Now, all of us go through wear and tear through the day that we take actions or whatever we do through. When you go to sleep, your brain actually gets the chance to repair, rewire, regenerate, and heal. Now, if you're someone who's constantly procrastinating, you're constantly anxious, you're fearful, or maybe you're stressed all the time, there are high chances that you're not sleeping well. And even if you're sleeping well, like 7-8 hours of sleep, but maybe that sleep is not deep enough. Now, what happens in the sleep and wake cycle is your pineal gland that's in your brain releases serotonin as a hormone in the morning that helps you to take action through the day. But as soon as the sun starts setting, its biorhythm takes over and it releases melatonin in your body. Now, melatonin is a hormone that helps you to regenerate new neurons, new cells in your brain. The new cells are very critical. Now, day-to-day basis, you're learning new things. What worked for you 10 years back may not be working for you right now. But think about it. If you do not have a good sleep, your brain is operating on the same old neural pathways that you learned about 10-15 years back. And whatever consciously you're putting your efforts to learn and grow, it's not just getting registered in your brain. There is no connection, no neural connections developing, no neural pathways developing because you're not sleeping deep. If you're in the process of rewiring your brain and if you're in the process of developing yourself, growing, then sleep is a very, very critical aspect. A lot of times my students keep complaining that Dr. Meghna, God knows what happened, I'm working on myself but I'm feeling very sleepy and instead of taking action, I'm just procrastinating. Now you're making a mistake by thinking that way. Maybe your brain is so fatigued for the years and years and years of trauma that it has relived from that event that happened many years back. Now, when you start working on yourself, your brain is going into the mode of sleep so that finally it'll prune those old synaptic connections that are keeping you behind in your life, and maybe it's generating the new connections so that you start progressing in your life. Now, if you take this sleep seriously, type serious sleep in the chat box so that we can move ahead and we can see the 8 ways that you can start sleeping better. Type serious sleep and let's dive. First habit, eating heavy meal just before you go to sleep. Now, what happens is when the sun starts setting, your brain goes into sleep mode. Your body goes into the sleep mode, and this is a time your brain is signaled to get more energy to start regenerating the new neural synaptic connections and also start healing your body's wear and tear through the day. Now, what happens is when you eat a heavy meal, your brain gets a signal that there is something to digest. Now, if there is a digestion happening in the body, the energy is all directed towards your stomach, your digestive processes. The energy from the brain that was supposed to give you the peace and healing is now directed towards your stomach and digestion. Now, when that happens, your brain also gets the signal that since the digestion is happening, it's not the time to rest and recuperate. It's a time to act. Yes, digestion is an action done by your body. Now, when you're in the mode of action, how will you start healing your brain? Now, when that doesn't happen, the 2 things are possible. A, the entire energy gets directed to the stomach and in the body so that you are feeling awake in the night even if you go to sleep. Second thing happens is there are possibilities that the juices that are produced after the digestion comes into your esophagus, and from there it can create heartburn or belching or some sort of a digestive distress. Now, either ways, if that happens, you're missing out on a good deep sleep that will help your brain to get activated into alpha and theta state. Now, alpha state is a deep relaxation state and theta state is a reprogramming state. So if you're someone who's learning and who wants to grow, who wants to accelerate your success, this is one big habit that you need to change. Start eating as early as possible in the evening. Ideal time is at the sunset, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. If not, then at least 3 hours prior to your sleep time. It's very essential that you take care of this aspect, and you see within a week's time, you will start seeing the difference in the agility of your brain. You will start seeing the difference in your focus, your concentration, and your ability to learn things faster. Second habit. Type second habit in the chat box so that I know you're with me. The second habit that you need to change in your life is not having an unwinding routine. What is an unwinding routine? Unwinding routine would be switching off your gadgets, switching off the light, listening to the nice soothing music, or maybe reading a book. These are all unwinding ways that you're signaling your active brain to go into that deep sleep. Now, when your brain is active, your brain releases beta brain waves. Now, beta brain waves is a brain waves of alertness, focus, and doing things. You are in hyperactive mode through the day. You've taken care of so many things. Now your brain needs to know that it's time to start going into the deeper states of waves, like from beta to shift into the alpha brain waves. It takes your brain some time to get that cue that it's time to now relax, it's time to now rest, so that you start preparing and healing, repairing from the wear and tear that you've gone through. So not having an unwinding routine might be dangerous for your success. So tell me one of the things that you would like to pick up from today onwards as an unwinding routine. I'll tell you mine. My unwinding routine is about a couple of hours before I go to sleep. I like to switch off all my gadgets, my Wi-Fi, my internet. I prefer to either spend time with family, listen to good music, like not a movie music, maybe a subliminal music, or maybe some sort of a music that makes me feel nice and good, and maybe reading a nice book. That doesn't stimulate my brain, but rather gives me a sense of kind of relaxation. You can also start doing a gratitude journal, or maybe doing some sort of breathing patterns. Now, breathing is not just after your food, but maybe abdominal breathing or saman breathing that you can do before you go to sleep. Some sort of a cue that goes to your brain that it's time for you to switch off from your day-to-day routine. Third habit, right? Third habit in the chat box. Third habit that you must change is not sleeping and not waking up on the same time. Now, why should you sleep and wake up at the same time? Your body has got a circadian rhythm. It has a biological clock for your physical, mental, emotional, all sorts of needs. There's a biological clock. And when you don't sleep and wake up on time, same time every day, what happens is this biological clock just gets thrown off. And when the biological clock gets thrown off, your body goes into the stress mode. And by now, when you're in the stress mode, you're releasing adrenaline and cortisol. And when you're releasing adrenaline and cortisol, it's not the time to repair and regenerate, but it's time to run or fight. It's not the time to sleep. It's not the time to rest. It's not the time to even eat. It's the time to just keep running and fighting with something or the somebody. So if this is not helping you, then it's high time you change this third sleeping habit, that is not getting up on time and not waking up on time. Same time every single day. Put in a chat box, same time every single day. Fourth, having caffeine after 2 p.m. Now what happens is, as the day starts passing by and as we approach the night, our body starts dropping cortisol levels. And as the cortisol levels start dropping down, a chemical called adenosine is released in our body. Now adenosine promotes good sleep, promotes healing and health. What happens with caffeine is a psychoactive chemical. Now, the moment the caffeine goes in the body, it blocks the receptors of adenosine. So, in short, it comes in the way of adenosine getting absorbed in the body. And when the adenosine is not getting absorbed in the body, your wake and sleep cycle goes on the toss. So, it disturbs your biorhythm, your circadian rhythm. And once that happens, your body again goes into the stress mode. In a way, what happens after you drink caffeine after 2 p.m. is it promotes the wakefulness, it promotes activity, it doesn't promote sleep, it doesn't promote rest. And you by now know the rest is very important for your healing so that you become successful. So better change this habit. The fourth habit, no caffeine after 2 p.m. Type that in the chat box, no caffeine after 2 p.m. Fifth habit you must change. Type in the chat box, fifth habit you must change. That is sleeping with your social media, television or video games. All these three things promote activity in the brain. It promotes arousal in the brain. It promotes various emotions, because you watch them, that gives you a lot of up and down in your emotions. Imagine the racing of the hormones that happens after all the video games that you play. And all of these hormones are making you excited. And when you're excited in your brain, it's not time to rest and recuperate. It's not time to change your brain patterns. It promotes procrastinating sleep. And if procrastination on sleep happens, you wake up groggy, you wake up disfocused, you wake up with a lot of lethargy, and you wonder why it's happening. Now you see, it's a cycle that you have developed over a period of time. It's a cycle that you have to break with cold turkey, not over a period of time. Don't reduce the time of all these things. In fact, change the time of going on social media, change the time of watching television, or maybe playing a video game. Not before you go to sleep, because that will promote your activity in the brain. So type in the chat box, no social media, no TV and no video games just before you go to sleep. Put in the chat box, reiterate it in your brain. Change the time of doing all of these things, not 3 hours before you go to sleep. 6th habit that you need to change is working out before sleeping. Type in the chat box, change working out before sleeping. Now what happens when you work out? When you exercise, it releases stress hormones in your body. And when the stress hormones are released in your body, there's so much energy. It's not a time to sleep, but it's time to act. On top of it, when you go to the gym, there are, there are bright lights, and the bright lights may signal your brain that it's not night, but it's a daytime. As the sun starts setting, your pineal gland starts releasing melatonin as a hormone, which helps you to sleep better. And when you work out in the night, it actually promotes your wakefulness. It may be a great habit, and I understand that some people are so busy in their life that they don't have time for workout. In such case, I would suggest you to work out at least 3 to 4 hours before you go to sleep. Not an ideal scenario, but at least before 4 hours, so that your brain gets enough time to digest the stress hormones and then again puts you back into the melatonin cycle. So if this helps you, type it in the chat box and say, no exercise before sleeping. No exercise before sleeping. The 7th habit that you need to change. Having an uncomfortable sleep environment. Type in the chat box, having an uncomfortable sleep environment. What happens is your brain is most of the time focused in the environment to take its inputs. Say if you have the wrong kind of a bed, or maybe too much light, or maybe too much sound in your environment, maybe distractions like television, etc. Now all of that, the sound, etc. plays a big role on your brain to make you feel that this is not the time to rest, but this is time to act, this is time to fight, this is time to run. It invokes a lot of emotions in your space. It definitely does not promote any sort of a calmness or any sort of a relaxation. So not having a right kind of a sleep environment impacts your brain waves big time. Every time your brain is in alert mode, it's in a beta state, and the sleep that you get in the beta state is going to be like, you're going to feel that I'm consciously sleeping. You won't feel rested enough in the next day morning, and that's a sign that you need to inquire about your sleep environment. There's something in your sleep environment, maybe the temperature, or maybe the light, maybe the sound, maybe something is there that's not comfortable for your brain to go to rest. Put all the worries aside and just make you feel that, okay, this is my time, this is where I need to sleep, this is where I need to regenerate and recuperate. Type in the chat box if you do not have a comfortable sleep environment. 8th and most dangerous habit. And especially after the pandemic, a lot of us have developed this habit. See, your brain is a learning machine, and how you train it, giving the cues of your day-to-day routine, it gets just trained that way, and it starts operating on basis of the commands that you have given it. This 8th habit, which is the most dangerous one, is working in the bed. So type in the chat box, most dangerous habit, working in the bed. Most of us have developed the habit of sitting in the bed because of lack of constraint of the place, or maybe too many people. We started developing the habit of sitting in the bed and working. Now what happens is, the more time you spend in the bed awake, the faster your brain is going to associate that bed with keeping awake and working. So even in the night when you go to sleep, it's not going to give you that restful sleep because it's a time to work. It's the place to work. So make sure that you create a space for yourself. Even if it's a small desk or a table, not from the bed, but outside of the bed. If you can sit somewhere else and do the work, it'll really help your brain to go into the rest and regeneration. Let me know in the chat box, which of these habits are you going to change? And if you feel that this is very important, that this message should be delivered to at least 10 people in your life, so that you not only become successful, but other people also understand. Of course, in your environment, if your family members are not understanding this, it's very essential to send this video to the family members so they also start rewiring their habits. And as a family, you evolve into a great, successful family. So if you want to rewire your brain for more, share it with 10 more people in your life. And do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. See you soon.